welcome to our event today. My name's Jamie, and I'm part of the Elastos growth team. We have a special guest with us today, Ben from Witnet, who will be discussing their work in this blockchain space. So to start things off, Ben, could you please introduce yourself and your role?
Yeah, hey, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Ben. I also work on the growth team for Witnet. I'm the community lead, do a lot of the social media, and because we're such a small team, I also handle a lot of the business development, along with my other coworker who is mainly focused on developer relations and business development. Witnet is a multi-chain decentralized oracle. We're situated on our own layer 1 blockchain. So we custom built the blockchain from scratch we started in 2017 when the white paper came out. And we launched the mainnet in October of 2020. So like I said, we kind of focused on achieving a solution to the oracle problem, the blockchain oracle problem, which basically says that you can't have trustworthy, reliable data brought into a blockchain, a deterministic system like a blockchain, in a decentralized way. So that's basically the problem. And obviously, there's we kind of take the approach that there will never be a solution to the problem, but there's a lot of ways to go about tackling it. So we chose to focus on a fully decentralized network that could help achieve a way to potentially solve it, I guess, as you could kind of say. It's kind of similar. People think of it as like the blockchain trilemma, where you can't have security, scalability, and decentralization. So it's kind of along those lines, where you can't have, like I said, scalable data feeds brought into a deterministic system. So, like I said, we custom built the blockchain from scratch to focus on some of the biggest pain points that we see with oracles. And that's basically our interpretation of how to solve the problem, which is with a layer 1 that's secured by the native coin of the ecosystem, and that's the Wit coin. And the broad mission is to find a way to get data feeds onto a blockchain, because you can't really do it without essentially breaking the consensus mechanism of that blockchain. The reason that the blockchain oracle problem exists is because essentially a blockchain network is built on thousands of nodes that are operating simultaneously to come together to a consensus, right? The consensus of, say, that a transaction happened, or that a state change happened within a smart contract. And the whole point of the blockchain is to have that consensus, say I paid you or you paid me. So everybody needs to agree on that. But the problem arises when you have a smart contract that needs, say, the price of Bitcoin or the price of the Apple stock or something. And you have these thousands of different nodes that each go to their own source. Say, I'll go to CoinMarketCap, you go to CoinGecko, and then we have 2 other nodes that go to, 2 different sources. And each of those sources might be $1 off, or they update at different frequencies. So how do you guarantee that the consensus is met amongst those nodes? If I'm bringing back $1, or I'm bringing back 26,900 for the price of Bitcoin, and you're bringing back 27,000, and then these other nodes are bringing back $500 differences, you're not within consensus. And then there's attack vectors that are specific to those nodes that you can actually cause a lot of problems within the smart contract. So that's pretty much the gist of the problem, is that there's not a consensus, and when there's not consensus, the blockchain breaks. Elastos was really interesting because of the merge mining with Bitcoin. I think a lot of us appreciated that over here at Witnet, because Witnet kind of took a lot of the security measures from Bitcoin. So we kind of have like a UTXO model, and we have it's a very bare bones network. It literally does one thing. It does it really well. So I would say a lot of the core founders of the network were somewhat of Bitcoin maxis. So obviously we love the projects that are kind of tapping into the Bitcoin ecosystem in a way. And also Elastos is kind of like the first ecosystem that had a lot more use cases than just DeFi. We were doing our research, and we saw a lot of storage tooling, and what it was, social networking, and all this different stuff that you don't see with a lot of these other chains. And that presented a huge amount of use cases for the Witnet Oracle that we don't currently have. So right now we're seeing a lot of VRF functions, so like the randomness, which we call the randomness oracle, and then obviously price feeds, which is like big for DeFi. But then we started to look into the whole ecosystem of Elastos, and it had just so many new use cases that frankly we couldn't even imagine when we launched, and that was kind of like a big one for us because we knew we could have a lot of first of all, I think we would be the first oracle to have like a seamless launch, if I'm not mistaken, and it would just be a nice transition, and we could have a lot of these developers that finally have access to this off-chain information that could be guaranteed, and that they could build into their smart contract in a way that is like fully decentralized and kind of goes with the ethos of what both Elastos and Witnet are kind of building towards.
It sort of warms my heart to hear that, you have an understanding of how, Elastos was trying to build all of these functionalities from the ground up. We didn't have an end use case in mind. It was sort of like, look, we understand that you need these building blocks to be able to kind of create whatever your heart desires. And so you guys recognize that, and it's really exciting to hear that you're excited about the potential for the different directions that you can go given these solutions that we have. So that's amazing.
And if I'm not mistaken, you guys or at least Elastos started from back in 2002, prior to the whole blockchain kind of boom, right? You guys were building some kind of operating system. I didn't look too much deeper into that, but I know I remember thinking oh, that's really interesting that you were able to kind of transition that into this new picture of the new internet.
Yeah, I mean, it started even well before that with this concept, I think, of a world computer and what that would look like, right? And I think the founders were very much computer scientists. The smart web is what we originally called it. The ability to, you need to build the mainframes. You need to build, the connective, the things that connect all of the components of what a computer requires. You need that stuff before you can actually start getting onto the internet. And so it's kind of like, we wanted to build all those pieces first, and then let visionaries like you guys kind of see about what can be done with it, really.
Yeah, it's especially interesting with open source software, how you can kind of take one piece that wasn't designed for a specific thing and then take it and make it into something totally different, just kind of building on that. That's another thing with Elastos, is you guys were just kind of throwing things together, and people came and kind of took it and ran. It's really kind of a cool, heartwarming process.
Yeah, well, and look, I know this is your interview, but they can edit me out if they want, but I think the beauty of being able to kind of have all those pieces and just sort of work with people like yourselves who kind of are willing to jam on the opportunities. For me, this is the turning point. I mean, for 5 years we've been building all these things, but now it's more or less built. You're a great example of the partners that we want to attract. And so we're really excited about that. So getting back into it, who are your core audience? Are you looking at attracting users or developers or other communities?
I would say that on paper, simply it's developers. We want to be attracting developers who can use the Oracle, who are passionate about truly decentralized technologies. And obviously, right now, the main use case, like I said, is DeFi, right? Decentralized finance. But the main use case, the main user base we're going for is building technologies that run on decentralized networks. And obviously that's mainly these Solidity developers or smart contract programming languages, like Clarity and all these different ones. There's so many out there at this point. But we want to focus on the ones who can kind of take the tools that are there because of the Witnet network and use those tools in their contracts for whatever that is. Because we have a lot of tooling, like the ability to query any public API, randomness, random number generation, like all this different stuff. There's so many different use cases out there that these developers can really tap into. So our main goal, we want to find developers, and we've kind of made sure that those are our first and foremost people using the Oracle.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned the Wit token. Can you explain a little bit more about how does that fit into the overall picture of what you're building?
Yeah, so the Wit coin is the native coin of the Witnet ecosystem. Like I said, Witnet's a layer one. It needs its own coin that helps secure the network, and not only secure the Witnet network, but secure other networks that Witnet can be found on. So in the case of Witnet, it's a permissionless system. Anybody can run a node. All they have to do is download the blockchain and start. They can participate in data requests. But the most important thing is that they're getting the most up-to-date information about the state of the chain. And a lot of people, node operators are required to stake a small amount of collateral. They need to have skin in the game, and they use the Wit coin for that. And that Wit coin ensures that these node operators have an incentive to remain honest. So kind of going back to the idea of Bitcoin, it's really hard to rewrite the history of the chain because you have to spend an enormous amount of energy, which equals money and time, to kind of do a double spend or attack the network in a malicious way. So that kind of keeps those people within the Bitcoin ecosystem honest. And what happens in Witnet is that if they have some small amount of Wit staked as collateral, it's near impossible to actually change a data request as it's being processed, I guess, and it is a simple way to put it. Because, and not only that, but you have to command a large majority of the Wit coin that's given in a specific data request. So because it's permissionless, we don't rely on trust of node operators, whereas a lot of other oracles, have KYC for their node operators. They, utilize a proof of authority consensus mechanism, which is kind of just falling back to trust. We didn't want to do the trust. We wanted to do the trustless. So you don't have to trust node operators. You just have to believe that they have an economic incentive to remain honest, which is where the Wit coin comes in. You lose your staked Wit if you provide malicious information or are a dishonest node operator.
Very interesting. Then, what valuable opportunities does Witnet open up for developers within the Elastos ecosystem?
There's so many opportunities for developers within Elastos. I mean, especially considering you guys, like we've kind of been talking about, you have the tools already built for things way beyond just decentralized finance. I mean, the ability to get any piece of real world data from any source in a fully decentralized way is a very powerful thing on a decentralized blockchain. And like I said, I can't even really imagine the use cases that we could see with this kind of thing. But so it's hard to kind of speak to it, but it is now possible to kind of create truly decentralized social media that maybe, pictures are uploaded to a public API that can then be queried and used for all different sorts of products and projects. So there's so many opportunities that Witnet now opens up to Elastos developers.
That's great to hear. And so I understand also that you guys have a grant program. So maybe, how could that maybe tie into all this?
Yeah. So the grant program was, we started that back in September, and it was just designed to help fund projects that would be using the Witnet Oracle on any of the chains that we're found on. Of course, that extends to developers on Elastos. That kind of, the program is broken down into three different things. So we have retroactive funding, retrograde funding, and resource funding. And so the retroactive would be the people who have already been using the Oracle in a permissionless way that we didn't know were using the Oracle, and they come to us and say, hey, we'd like a grant to help maybe pay for some marketing or find some developers. So we offer, and that's a pretty low hanging fruit, you're using the Oracle, just provide us some proof, and then, you can get the funding. Retrograde would be like, oh, we're looking to build this protocol on Elastos. We'd like some funding to help get it started. And then, we kind of work with you on the roadmap, and we give you like a lump sum. And then obviously the resource funding is most typically used for established projects that want to pay for like gas fee updates, because that could kind of get expensive over the long term. So we can kind of help with that, because developers on Elastos would actually be paying in your native coin as opposed to paying in the Wit coin. And then we have like a bridge that relays the information and the funds over to the Witness side for execution, and then relays it back. So that can kind of get a little expensive. So we have those resource grants. and those are open to all developers on Elastos at this point. It's linked on our website if anybody's interested.
That, you know, the open call to
open call
to developers to play with the tech and see where Witnet and Elastos tech can really play nice with each other. So then, you know, on that point, like, what can our communities expect to see next from this partnership that we've brokered between Witnet and Elastos?
I would expect that a lot of people are going to be testing with traditional DeFi products because that's an easy one to integrate immediately. You just say, you know, I want the price of Bitcoin and ETH sent into my smart contracts. That's a simple one. And I would imagine that a lot of people want to kind of test the actual Oracle strength and see how it works with latency and all this kind of stuff. So that would be the simple one. But, you know, it'll get really interesting when developers sort of start to see how they can play around with that real world information on Elastos and kind of change different aspects of humanity, frankly, and see how, you know, we can operate with like infrastructure in the real world or logistics, you know, maybe it's shipping and this kind of different stuff, but like it can be much more than just, you know, gambling or simple DeFi. But I expect to see a lot of really new use cases coming in the next few months as people start to finally realize the power that they hold building on Elastos and using Witnet. If you're building a protocol on Elastos, a decentralized blockchain, you have to use a decentralized oracle in order to be a fully decentralized protocol. So we like to say real DeFi is built on Witnet, and I think that rings true for developers on Elastos building on a decentralized blockchain. So it's important to remember that you're only as decentralized as the oracle you use.
That's a great point. Great point. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Ben.
Thank you.
You know, happy to have you as part of the ecosystem. And for anyone listening, you know, just check out the grant program and see what's available to you, and definitely integrate Witnet as you can. So
thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Have a good rest of your day.